Brian here with Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So back with another special edition of Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. We're doing another distillery drink through. And today we've got Sagamore Spirit. I wanted to do a drink through of Sagamore Spirit as a distillery because I just think the things that they're doing are just so good that they're worthy of kind of bringing attention to this distillery, because you don't hear a lot about Sagamore Spirit. Um, they're becoming more and more known. And maybe it's because they're a newer distillery. And over the last several years, their whiskeys have been sourced from MGP in Indiana. And maybe because they source their whiskey and they're fairly new, they just don't have the notoriety that, quite frankly, they really deserve. But Sagamore Spirit is now doing something really interesting, almost similar to, say, Frey Ranch, where they are growing their own grain and distilling and aging their own product now. And they have released their own bottled in bond, which I don't have yet. I haven't found it in my local marketplace, but certainly going to be adding that to my growing list of Sagamore Spirit products that I've got. So these three bottles that I have are all, as I said, sourced from MGP in Indiana. But be that as it may, I don't think that's necessarily a knock on the distillery. The bottom line is, when a distillery is fairly new, they haven't had time to age their product appropriately. And like I said, they have released a bottled in bond now, and they are going to be releasing more and more products. And I just think it's going to be such a cool distillery because, as I said, they are growing their own grains in Maryland. And Maryland was known for high quality rye grains all the way back to the late 1700s. So Maryland style ryes were all the rage for many, many years, decades in fact. And so Sagamore Spirit is really revitalizing the Maryland whiskey scene. And I think they're going to continue to be one of the most a fantastic distillery out there in the marketplace. And I just love what they're doing, growing their own grains now, distilling their own product. Really, really cool. So let's get into it. We've got Sagamore Spirit Barrel Select, which is a 7-year product. That's a blend of two different ryes. I'll get into that. Then we've got the Double Oaked. The Double Oaked is matured for about 5 years and then secondarily aged for about another 18 months or so in a secondary oak that's been toasted. And then you've got the Mac Daddy, the Sagamore 8, an 8-year rye, which, I don't know anybody that has criticized Sagamore 8. It is just so darn good. So we're going to start with the Barrel Select. I did a 60-second YouTube short on Sagamore Spirits Barrel Select a while back, but we're going to get into this one again. So this is 110 proof. It's aged 7 years. And this one happens to be a store pick from a local liquor store in my area. It's a blend of both a high rye mash bill and a low rye mash bill. The high rye being 95% rye, 5% malted barley. And then the low rye is probably like a barely legal 51% rye. It's interesting. When I did my YouTube short on the Barrel Select, I was really focusing on the caramel and the vanilla, which is there. And I mentioned that this is an ideal gateway rye if you're into bourbon, but you haven't really gotten into ryes yet, and you're looking for something to start to train your palate on ryes. This is ideal. But you know what's interesting is I'm getting different things off of this on the nose now. All of a sudden, I'm getting, what's coming across almost like a port finish. If you've had whiskeys, bourbons that are finished in port, I'm almost getting that. So I'm getting a dark fruit component now. I'm also getting sort of like a tobacco on it. Cheers. The proof comes through. It's 110 proof, like I said. You can feel it. It does not drink hot. It drinks ultra smooth, but the proof is there, and you can tell because it's viscous. It has a nice oily mouthfeel, a lot of caramel, a lot of vanilla. But I'm also getting this really nice, almost like port wine finished uh, essence to it. I don't know how to explain it because I didn't pick it up before, but I'm definitely getting it now. So good. The Sagamore Spirit 7-year, like I said, the Barrel Select, it's going to retail around $65. Well worth it. This is fantastic rye grain out of MGP. Fantastic rye whiskey. I think if you love bourbon, this is going to be a fantastic option for you. All of these, in fact, are going to be. Let's get into the double oaked a little bit. The double oaked is actually the lower proof of all three bottles. I believe it's 97%, 96.6. So the double oaked is aged about 5 years, but then it's secondarily aged in a toasted barrel for about 18 months. So, you could call this a 6.5 year. Boy, I'm getting really some unusual notes on this one. Almond. A lot of rye spice. I don't know if it's almond or there's something nutty about this one that I'm loving. Maybe not almond, maybe something more like toasted hazelnut or something like that. So a lot of people ask, what's the difference between a charred barrel and a toasted barrel? Because when you have a double oaked product, typically the second part of the aging process is in a toasted barrel. So a charred barrel, if you don't already know this, is when you take a new American oak barrel and then the flame, the interior of the barrel is heavily charred. Now there's different levels of char. You can go from all the way to like an alligator char, which means it's almost practically the interior of the barrel is almost destroyed. But there's different levels. But that's when they take flame and shoot the flame into the interior of the barrel to the point where it's dark charcoal virtually on the inside part of the barrel. Whereas a toasted barrel is where they take the barrel and heat it. And this is where the exterior of the barrel gets toasted, usually lightly toasted. And that's supposed to bring out more oils, more sugars from the wood itself. So with a toasting, it's really the outside of the barrel that is getting toasted via heat. And then a char is when the inside part of the barrel is being hit directly with very, very hot flame. So hope that helps you. Oh, yeah, there's definitely a toasted nuttiness to this. Very sweet. I'm almost thinking this double oak is sweeter than the 1910 by Old Forester, which is a fairly sweet bourbon. But this obviously is a rye, and it's coming across almost dessert-like. If you've had like an after-dinner liqueur of some kind, this is coming across very heavy, very sweet, with some really nice toasted nuttiness. Yeah, that's absolutely delicious too. Again, that's 96 proof, so it doesn't drink as hot, or it doesn't have as much of a Kentucky hug as, say, the Sagamore Spirit. And in this case, we'll call it an Indiana hug because it's all distilled from Indiana. So the last one, Sagamore Spirit 8-year. Definitely, in this one, I'm getting a lot of chocolate. Hmm. As soon as it hit my palate, oh man. As soon as I hit my palate, it was so different. This one, very dark, dark toasted nut, um, beautiful sweetness, but syrupy, very thick and syrupy. The Sagamore 8, the most aged of all, chocolate, dark chocolate. Little lighter though in terms of its overall flavor components. Oh, so good. The Sagamore 8, by the way, is the highest proof. It's 115 or 114.9 and drinks amazing. It's not, it doesn't burn at all. It has a nice warming feeling as it's going down. We'll call it the Indiana hug for now, since it is distilled out of Indiana. Um, it's clearly the darkest. Like if you look at the colors, significantly darker than certainly the double oaked. Each one of these bottles has some very distinct characteristics. The Barrel Select, very caramel forward, a lot of vanilla. But then, like I said, as I've been drinking on this a little bit more, although it's not port finished, I'm almost picking up on kind of a port finish, but it really is just a dark fruit. The double oaked has got that deep sweetness and drinks almost like an after dinner liqueur. And then the Sagamore 8 has this kind of like luscious dark chocolate note to it. So I hope that helps with Sagamore Spirit. I hate to kind of pump up a distillery because, I'm not sponsored by Sagamore Spirit. I don't owe them anything. They don't owe me anything. But they're, everything that comes out of Sagamore Spirit is so amazing that I feel like this is a great distillery. If you're out there looking for something different that you don't have on your shelf, you're afraid of ryes because maybe you tasted a rye before and maybe you didn't like it, and just it had some different flavors to you. Maybe it was super spicy or super hot. These Sagamore Spirit ryes are something very different. They're elevated. That's a good word for it. These are just elevated whiskeys. And I absolutely cannot wait for their own distilled product out of Maryland with Maryland grown rye grains. I know Jason at the Mash and Drum, and if you haven't checked out the Mash and Drum, definitely do so. Jason is a fantastic reviewer of whiskeys. He did a review of the Sagamore Spirit Bottled in Bond, and that is made with their own Maryland rye grains and distilled by Sagamore Spirit, aged by Sagamore Spirit. And he had nothing but thumbs up for their Bottled in Bond. So I'm going to be chasing that one for sure. With that, I'll leave you with Sagamore Spirit. Don't even hesitate. Most of these bottles, the Sagamore Spirit 8 is pretty pricey. You're probably going to pay about $80 for that one, but it's absolutely worth every penny. The Double Oak's probably around 70 to 75. The Barrel Select about 65. Again, this was a store pick. All of them are worth every penny. If you gave this as a gift to somebody around Christmas time, I think they would absolutely love it. And each one of these bottles would enhance your collection big time. So with that, thanks for joining Guitars, Whiskey, and Golf. Go out and get yourself a bottle of Sagamore Spirit. You'll absolutely not be disappointed. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.